Hello there, welcome to Football-Oranje. It is time for a Euro 2020 tournament preview, and we're stacked with guests today. It's going to be a magnificent time with us talking about the whole tournament, predicting the final winner come the end of it. Now, we are a Dutch football podcast, so first we'll give a couple of little plugs. So thank you very much for joining us today from other places other than the world of Dutch football. We are Football-Oranje. I'm Michael Statham, and Mike Bell is the Football-Oranje founder. You can see him there on screen. We're both here to talk about the Dutch football perspective, but we've got various other guests as well. We've got Euro expert himself, who's clued up on many, many different teams in the competition. We've got Alan here, who's from La Liga Lowdown, giving us the expertise on the Spanish national team. We've got Danny here, giving us the insight into Portugal. And we've got Ritwik as well, who knows Alex from the Eurowatch podcast. And the two of them know a lot of other teams. So I'm sure they give us plenty of insight into many, many teams. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be previewing each group, going through and predicting what will happen in each group before we get our last 16. And then we're going to use our powers of persuasion against each other to persuade who's going to go through to the quarters, semis, and ultimately win the tournament. So much to discuss and plenty of guests to include and to say hello. So I don't know if you each just want to give a little plug into what you do, first of all, before we begin the podcast. I'll start with Alan.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I'm a freelance journalist based in Seville in the south of Spain. And I work with La Liga Lowdown, as you mentioned, also with World Football Index, with Football España, with These Football Times, various other places too. And yeah, I'm happy to be covering La Roja today, the Spanish national team, for you guys. It's exciting coming up to the tournament, especially given that all the games will be taking place here in Seville and La Cartuja, only 20 minutes from where I am right now. So looking forward to it for sure.
Amazing, Alan. And Danny.
Yeah, so I host the Selecao podcast. I'm based out of the States. My folks are both from Portugal, from the Azores, so I'm a first generation born here. But the Selecao is my number one team, my number one squad. I just got tattooed. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that. It hurt a little bit, but I guess I'm all in now. Can't really divert any of my support. But the Selecao podcast has been around. It's coming up on 3 years. Started just before the 2018 World Cup, and we have a partnership with Tom Kundert over at Portugal.net, based in Lisbon. So it's been a great partnership. I've had Michael on the show when previewing the Nations League in 2019. So it's good to reconnect with him and to meet all you guys too. And looking forward to this discussion.
And we've got Alex as well, and his co-podcaster Ritwik from the Eurowatch podcast.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I have to give it to Ritwik. He's the guy with the brains and the research behind it. I just give the hot takes, and I also wear the lovely wristbands, which you can get from football-oranje.com. Michael, I'll save you the plug there. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to bring in the Eurowatch minnow knowledge. Well, a bit of it. Ritwik has it all.
Yeah. So we started Eurowatch. Probably, I think, halfway through last year. We were part of another group called El Arte de Fútbol, and we sort of tried to create podcast wing from there. We are solely covering the Euros, hence we're Eurowatch. What happens after that is time will tell. We cover the news, we cover team previews. Obviously, as Alex mentioned, a lot of hot takes, and our main aim is to give everybody, casuals and rabid football fans, the cliff notes and the guide to the Euros before they happen. So we're compiling all our podcasts together so that once the Euros come in, everything is there for everyone to listen to.
Fantastic. Well, we're stacked with guests. So if you're watching this live, do get involved. Do send us a comment. But of course, mainly if you're watching after this has gone live, do still get involved and comment what you're thinking about the Netherlands heading into Euro 2020, but also who you think will ultimately win the competition. Now, as Alex said there, we've got Football-Oranje wristbands. You can still get them in the YouTube description. There's a link there, and also on the Football-Oranje Twitter page. They support what we do on our podcast. Now, we're going to open up with the Netherlands' group. We haven't brought Mike into the conversation yet. The Netherlands are in Group C, along with Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. Mike, we've talked extensively on the Football-Oranje podcast about how the Dutch will get on in the tournament, but we're getting closer and closer. And the groups, let's be honest, it's a nice one. We know that the Netherlands have got their own problems, though, which might actually hold them back getting through that group. But in a minute or so, what do you think of their chances overall at the tournament?
I think if you asked me that more than a year ago when Ronald Koeman was still in charge, I might have had a different answer. But with Frank de Boer now in there, the hopes have sort of dwindled a little. I think that the group is a good one, especially for the games to be played in Amsterdam. So I think the Netherlands are the favourites to win the group, and then hopefully the draw for them for the next round is a bit of an easier one. There is some teams they can get, which would be a tough one. But if they get an easier last 16 draw, then part of me, maybe it's been a month since we last saw Netherlands, so maybe the optimism's just growing back in there. But yeah, I'm starting to feel a bit more optimistic about Netherlands' chances, especially with Frenkie de Jong back in form with Barcelona. And yeah, part of me thinks the Netherlands still have a chance of winning it by group, and then it's just how they get on when they reach the end of the tournament. I think they'll struggle against some of the bigger nations.
Now, as for the group itself, the Netherlands are with a few other teams, which I think Alex is clued up on as well. There's Austria in there, North Macedonia, Ukraine, and we've previously spoken about how Ukraine might actually be the dark horse, not just in the group, but maybe in the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Ukraine are managed by former legendary striker Andrei Shevchenko. They didn't qualify for 2018 World Cup, but unlike many other nations, they treated that as kind of a moment to bring the team together. And since then, they've been full steam ahead. They've had some great results against Germany and France in recent times. They qualified unbeaten for the Euros, and they look like a really talented squad going into this. So they'll definitely be giving a Netherlands side, which, as you guys will definitely know, and as Michael's brilliantly pointed out there, there's a lot of apprehension around them. Ukraine, I think if they don't get out of the groups, it'll be seen as a disappointment, but they're filled with a lot of hope, and there's definitely the talent to go a bit further.
I don't know if you guys want to jump in, and what are you thinking about Austria, North Macedonia? Do you think they're sort of like cannon fodder, or could they be a genuine sort of outsider?
I think North Macedonia is the kind of team that everyone will like to have their eye on because of some very attractive results beforehand. But it's their depth which will always be a problem. You know, you have some players like Goran Pandev who provide a real experienced hand, but I'd say North Macedonia might eke out one result, but it's hard to see them, you know, because this is the Euros. You're playing the top caliber opposition. You're not playing fellow cannon fodder. With Austria, they're pretty much a bit of a divided unit. No real out-and-out leadership figures. Would suspect that the Netherlands go through, but if past history is anything to go by, it's the Dutch do make it hard for themselves sometimes when they don't possibly need to. But I think they have enough talent to get through this.
We see that the Dutch, they're under Frank de Boer, and this is the reason why the optimism sort of it comes and it goes. If Ronald Koeman was still in charge, I think the trend still would have been there, and I think that they would have been amongst favourites for the entire tournament. Now that there's a couple of issues, Virgil van Dijk might not make it, Dave Blind might not make it, and if they do, they won't be fully fit. So there's issues there. But their squad is still pretty strong. They've still got the likes of Frenkie de Jong, Memphis Depay, some real quality in that team. And I'm sort of toying in my head between the Netherlands finishing first and second. I don't suppose anyone wants to jump in and offer who they think might win the group.
I'll jump in. I agree with the Ukraine take. To be honest, since the World Cup in 2018 not making it, Portugal knows very well what kind of a tough squad Ukraine is. Ukraine beat Portugal in a not a winner take all, but winner controlling of the group in Euro qualifying. Portugal was still fortunate enough to make it, but I like Ukraine and the Netherlands to both get out of the group. That's not really a hot take per se, but I think Ukraine is very well set up for if you draw them in the knockouts, it's not a draw that you're looking forward to. And I would say the same thing with the Netherlands. The talent is there. Obviously, the change in manager with Koeman going to Barcelona has dampened the outlook a little bit for the Oranje a little bit. But just based on talent alone, these two nations should be the ones that kind of boss the group around, because North Macedonia is a nice story at the moment, but depth will play a role in group matches because they're playing every 3 days. So you can only go so deep so far in your roster in that short amount of time. I think it's the first match is on the 13th and the last match is on the 21st. You're looking at 3 matches in just about 8 days. So that'll take its toll on a squad that is not as deep as others. But I think it'll hold true that it'll probably most likely be the Netherlands and Ukraine coming out.
Well, with our predictions coming up as to who's going to win each group and so on, Alex has actually got the wall chart prepared. It's found on the Telegraph website. I'm going to add it to the stream. And we're going to add in who we think is going to win each group, second place, third place, and then the team that's going to be knocked out. Because some third place teams also do go through to the last 16. And I want to get each of the people who are on this podcast to now send in, if they can, their predictions for this group. Who you think is going to finish first, second, third, and fourth. And then we'll take a sort of amalgamation of what we think, and we'll put it into this predictor.
All right, I'll keep it short. Despite the temptation to get Alan, Danny, and Ritwik to rebel and vote the Netherlands to finish bottom on the Football-Oranje podcast, which would be funny, I think I'm going to back Ukraine to finish top and Netherlands to finish second, unless Frank de Boer has a change of heart and starts a really good striker in Wout Weghorst. But he'll probably go with De Jong. But that's just my 2 cents. So Ukraine top, Netherlands second, Austria third, North Macedonia last.
We have 3 predictions in so far. I've gone with Netherlands finishing top. So has Mike. So has Alan. Danny's gone with the Netherlands finishing second behind Ukraine. So it looks like, and Ritwik's also gone with Netherlands top. So if Alex, you could put in Netherlands finishing top of that group, which would be fantastic. It feels like it's happened already. This feels good. We're going to do it, Mike.
Congratulations, guys.
It's going to be Ukraine second. And it looks like North Macedonia. North Macedonia.
Interesting. We've gone with North Macedonia third. Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's have a surprise or two.
I'm telling you.
I've
one of the goals of the tournament will be scored by Goran Pandev. And it'll be completely unintentional. It'll be completely unintentional. The man is timeless. Absolutely timeless.
I think
from so many FIFAs.
From my perspective, I think this is the tournament that Frankie de Jong is going to really step up and become a senior player in international football. Because in Spain this season, he's been taken under Koeman's wing the same way Koeman took Guardiola under his wing as a player. When Guardiola broke through in the first team, he roomed with Koeman at Barcelona. And I think he's developing really mature characteristics, playing a very dynamic role alongside Pedri and Sergio Busquets at Barca. And, from a personal point of view, I think that he's really developed this season. Speaks fluent Spanish as well. Really impressive young character, I think. So I think that Frankie de Jong-led Netherlands could be a surprise package this summer for me.
Yeah, that brings me on to one question. Who is the out-and-out designated captain of the Dutch national team right now? Is it Memphis?
No, it's Wijnaldum has been the captain for the last 3 games. It should be Memphis, but it's Wijnaldum at the moment.
Interesting.
Well, believe it or not, we've actually got someone called Goran greeting some Macedonia. That's unbelievable. I thought we'd have some Dutch football fans watching, not someone from North Macedonia.
Get on. Big up, Goran. Big up.
Fantastic.
Oh, dear. Well, we've got a question from Shabab saying, do a top 3 go through? And it is first and second go through. It's 4 of the best 6 teams that finish third that go through as well. We'll sort that out at the end. And we've got a Dutch football fan watching from London. So, greetings. We've got a worldwide following today. That's fantastic. Right, well, next group, guys. We're going to move on to the group of death next. Oh, it's such a tasty group. You have to say 3 of the absolute tournament favourites are in there. Portugal, Germany, France, and Hungary. Pick whichever 3 you think are the favourites. And Danny, we have to come to you. What do you think then for Portugal? You must have been signed so much when this came out.
It's always expected. Portugal somehow finds its way in difficult situations 9 times out of 10. But and if there's any nation that knows how to qualify third in a group and win a tournament, it's Portugal. So it can be done. Yeah, I mean, you have the last two World Cup champions in Germany and France. You have the reigning European champions in Portugal. You have the inaugural Nations League champions. Sorry, guys. But I mean, this group is. I mean, you said it, Michael. It's tasty. It is. I mean, and poor Hungary. I mean, don't underestimate them simply because they have home matches in this tournament as of right now. They're still scheduled to have their matches in Budapest, but and Hungary and Portugal had a great 3-3 draw in the Euros in 2016. So in terms of the Portuguese side, they have a lot of experience with these three nations. Obviously, no one can forget the final in 2016 where Portugal pulled the Greece and beat the home hosting nation in the final. And the talent is so much better now than it was in 2016. But I do think that there are some issues with the squad simply because, and I will say it from an output point of view. Fernando Santos, the Portuguese manager, I believe has only lost 3 or 4 matches in his managerial career, like non-friendlies, any official matches. That is a ridiculous stat. Yet he is probably as maligned as any manager right now in world football, simply because of the talent that is on the team. They're not putting teams away for 5-0 when they should be on paper. And there is a bit of a balance that Portuguese fans like myself and those who manage and have seen football for so long, Fernando Santos was paid and is getting paid for one reason and one reason only: to get results, no matter how bad they look, no matter the quality of the play. Fans want to see guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, João Felix. They want to see these guys get the ball in the back of the net, and I get that because they do that in their leagues. But Portugal, and now it's like the Netherlands as well, they have so many of their top players spread out through Europe that cohesion at the national team level is something that lacks a little bit. And I think it holds true with Portugal. It has for a while, but I think more so now than ever. I do think somehow, some way, and we'll get to it later on, I do think France, Germany, and Portugal find a way to get into the knockouts. But it is the talent in this group is just so ridiculously high. I would say neutral football fans are going to really, really enjoy watching these 6 matches in this group.
Yeah, and more from Danny probably a bit later. I'm assuming we're all going to sort of put Portugal within that top 3. Something that could be a bit of a danger, in my opinion, is that whichever team finishes third in this group might well be knocked out. Just something that goes in the back of my head, because if there's lots of draws in this group, they could end up being knocked out. If it's a very tight group with them such quality, draws could be massive.
Portugal qualified. Portugal qualified into the final or into the knockouts in 2016 based off of 3 draws. They were lucky. I believe they were the 3rd or 4th third place team to get into the knockouts. So I mean, it's by the skin of their teeth they did it. But is it possible? Sure. And yeah, results are going to be just so massive in this group.
And Alex, you've been watching France and Germany really closely. What do you make of them for this tournament?
A tale of 2 halves. So
yeah,
we can spend about 30 seconds on France because they're really boring. They're probably going to, in my humble opinion, I think they're going to win the Euros because they've got the most stupidly talented squad of all time. I mean, I'm going to steal a line from Ritwik here. When we were first starting Eurowatch, he summed it up perfectly. France have got two Hernandezes and 2 Mendy's and Luca Digne fighting for the left back spot. And all of them will probably get into every other national team. That's how stupid their depth is. And the only real pressure on Deschamps is that he has to fit all of this. That he's handling a lot of pressure at the moment, because imagine being a manager of the team that everyone assumes will win the Euros. I mean, we've seen Germany crumble under that pressure before. And speaking of which, Germany are crumbling massively. I mean, Michael, I know you guys have suffered a bit watching the Netherlands at times after watching Ronald Koeman's side thump other teams, and then and Frank de Boer, not to hate on him too much because I know that's a bit of a meme, but just you know, he's kind of, as you guys have said, he's derailed the optimism at times. Germany, oh my God, their fans have been calling for Low to go, and he will be leaving at the end of this tournament. But in just the last 6 months, they've lost 6-0 to Spain, which I'm sure Alan will smile about, and they've lost 1-0 to North Macedonia, which I'm sure our humble fan in the comments, Goran, will be smiling about too. So there's a lot of pressure on Germany, and they look to be all over the place. And to keep it short, just to summarise how in touch Low is at the moment. In 2 of the last 3 games, Emre Can started at left back over Robin Gosens. So whatever Germany will do in this group stage, it will be interesting. I can say that much.
Well, yeah, the fact that they've not got it's the older players that have been kicked out of the squad that got me with Germany. I can't believe that they've just sort of given up all hope on the other players that have done so well, like Muller, for example.
You say that, actually. So that was a part of an effort to keep the squad really young. Lowe said, we want to take the squad in a new direction after 2018, which lasted about a year or two until earlier this year, where after the bad performances, Lowe put out a call and said, Hummels, Muller and Boateng, if you want to come back to the Germany team, the door's now open, because they look in such bad shape, in my opinion. But it also might just be it's his last hurrah and he doesn't really care about building a youth side anymore.
There's a bit of a lack of German talent coming through the system too, isn't there? Especially in the attacking positions. There's not really the same kind of product line that there was 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, they're having to start Timo Werner and, well, I mean, having to start, that's still a good thing. But after Timo Werner, their next best striker is probably Kai Havertz shifted up there or Serge Gnabry, and neither one of those players is desperately in form, and neither's Werner. So, yeah, spot on, Alan.
Yeah,
Well, if you guys would like to now put in your predictions to this group, go for it. Okay, let us know who you're going to put for first, second, and third.
I'll get them back on the screen.
I know someone's going to put Hungary higher than fourth. I'm just wondering who it is.
Oh, it's a bit of I feel a bit of pressure.
Oh man, this is gonna be a hard one.
Is that all the votes in? Oh, we've got a couple of people thinking on it.
No, that's I'm thinking on it.
Well, I think we can fairly comprehensively say France are going to finish top.
We'll say France top. There we go.
I think Michael Bell just became my best friend. I like that.
There's gonna be some shocks, and I just think Portugal does like their squad. I like the attack, and I just think that they might sneak it. I think if they beat Germany, beat Hungary, then France and Germany might draw, and then Portugal sneak out on top.
It looks like it's going to be France, Portugal, Germany, and Hungary. But I will say on the Hungary note, I mean, not going to go on for more than 30 seconds about them, but they're an organised team, and I don't think they'll go any higher than. I don't think they'll get any higher than third or fourth. But I do expect them to take at least a couple of draws, which will, in essence, that might be what downs one of the other teams out of this group. But they're not going to be one that's just going to lose every single game here. They're going to take a point off someone. We just don't know who.
Germany.
Yeah, I think also the narrative in recent weeks about the Gary Lineker tweet about clubs or countries kind of pre-qualifying for the qualifying rounds. Even I'd love to see a kind of a weaker nation like Hungary do a bit of damage in a group as strong as this on paper. And I think Germany are in kind of a weak position at the moment, so I could definitely see Hungary maybe sneaking in ahead of them. I still think Germany will finish third, but I'd love to see Hungary do something, just given the kind of discussions in recent times. Like I spent the first 3 months of the year in Portugal. I have a real soft spot for Portugal and for Lisbon as well. And I'd love to see them do very well in the tournament. I think they will, but I just think France is just too stacked. They have too many talented players to not kind of win the group outright. But I think that Portugal could grow as the tournament progresses. And I think they maybe be slightly unimpressive in the beginning, but with time they begin to click. They kind of gel from being together for so long, and they'll be a real force in the later stages of the tournament, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the one thing I wanted to add about Portugal is that this is definitely a bridge period for Portugal, because for so long you've had people like Moutinho, Pepe, Ronaldo, Nani, Quaresma, like these, and possibly Patricio. These are the 5 who've like been constants in the squad for so long. On international tournaments, they can operate on autopilot. This tournament, you're going to see some people coming in for the first time into a national tournament. Like, Danny can correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to be the first international tournament Bernardo Silva plays for Portugal, right? Because he was.
It's
injured
his
before.
first Euro. He was in. Yeah. He was injured for the 2016 Euro. He played in the World Cup in 2018.
But that notwithstanding, yet people, I think João Felix and Neves, this is going to be their first tournament for Portugal, and this is definitely going to be a bridge period. So I think what Fernando Santos is, at least in the qualification, is sort of done is try to prioritize defense, because yes, you have these attacking talents, but you have people coming in from slightly different generations, and in order for all of that to click and come together, that takes both time and a lot of effort. And as he mentioned, these players are spread out everywhere. They play different tactics, and having Fernando Santos say, "Well, this is Portugal's tactics. You have to conform to this." Maybe putting some of those players a bit back, but I think that's what we're going to see in this group of death tournament. We're going to see how preparations of tactics really just come together. Who's going to click from the word go, and who's going to take time to click? And some teams, that time to click may be just a bit too long.
I will say this on the Portuguese side. Germany is kind of in a tough spot where I think, Alan, you mentioned and Alex too, where the youth factory kind of has stopped in terms of quality. You have the two kids over in Chelsea, or at Chelsea, I should say. Is it Havertz? My German is totally awful, but you guys know, and Werner as well. But there is something to be said that even with all this talent in Portugal, that a 36-year-old attacker and a 38-year-old center back are still at the very core of a national team that is ranked fourth or fifth in the world given the rankings. And this is a pivot point for this national team with Ronaldo, with Pep, with Fernando Santos, because as great as 2016 was and as unexpected as it was, and we'll always be thankful for Fernando Santos there, 2018 was supposed to be the building block off of 2016, and it wasn't. It is a terrible group to be in to try to get out of, but the talent is much better than it was 2 years ago, much better, or 3 years ago, much better than it was 5 years ago. And not that I want this to happen, but there's a certain manager who was just let go from a London squad, who has made it very clear that at some point he wants to be the national team manager. And I'm not saying that Jose Mourinho should take over for Fernando Santos, but I can see the fans clamoring for Fernando Santos ouster, with Mourinho waiting in the wings if Portugal somehow doesn't get out of this group. That would be unfortunate, but I could see it happen.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for that one. I'm sure much more to come on the big teams in that group later on. Now, the next group we're going to move on to is the group with Spain. Alan, Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. Piece of cake, right?
You would think so. I mean, Spain is a funny one because the expectation is so high after what happened at the tail end of the 2000s, the beginning of the 2010s. I mean, like on paper, their progress through the qualification phase was flawless. They won 8, drew 2, scored 31, conceded 5 goals, didn't lose a single game in the 10 games. But there was a bit of kind of a tumultuous nature to the campaign. There was problems between Luis Enrique and Roberto Moreno. Luis Enrique took time off after the death of his daughter. And when he came back, Roberto Moreno, who was kind of caretaking for him, there was a serious personality between the two. And Moreno was basically banished from the national team setup. So there's a bit of a kind of residue over that. There's also a bit of a kind of a generational shift within the kind of Spanish team, because you have the tail end of that great generation from 2008, 2012, you could say, kind of clashing with two different generations. You have the generation between them, which were the likes of David De Gea, Isco, these players like Thiago Alcantara as well, who's going to step up and kind of inherit that team and bring that team on, and for whatever reason haven't. Each player has a different reason. And then you have the third generation of the likes of Ansu Fati, Pedri, Brian Hill, these kind of young guns who are kind of coming into the setup in the very beginning. So it's kind of a weird kind of clash almost, you could say. But regarding their group, I think they'll navigate the group quite comfortably. They should definitely get out of that group with no issues, you would imagine. But regarding the final stages, the last 16, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, maybe even the final, it's much more kind of questionable thing to discuss because there is a bit of a disconnection in some parts of the team in terms of at centre back, for instance. There's injury questions over Sergio Ramos. He's 35, but he's still the undisputed, leader of this team. There's Pau Torres and Eric Garcia are both in good form for La Roja, and they could even be contesting for a starting role if Sergio isn't fully fit for those games. In midfield, you have Pedri, who's just come into the starting lineup basically straight away, alongside Sergio Busquets, who's kind of enjoying a bit of a renaissance for Barcelona this season. Ansu Fati is a big loss. He became Spain's youngest ever goal scorer in September when he scored in the kind of tail ends of the European qualifiers. But he's still injured for Barcelona. He's maybe undergoing a new surgery on a knee problem he's picked up back in November. So there's question marks over him as well. So, yeah, I think overall there's kind of quiet optimism there. There's a kind of recognition that this team isn't the team that, swept all before it with Iker Casillas and Xavi and Iniesta and that incredible kind of unparalleled run in European football and world football. But Luis Enrique is a very canny operator. There's some very, very talented players there, a younger generation breaking through, and some older heads there as well. But I think that it could well be the case where it's almost a transitional tournament in many ways in terms of maybe phasing out the old guard and just bringing through the younger players properly. So I think no matter what happens, I think Spain have a shot, but I think there's also more to come with some of the young players coming through.
And out of the teams that could finish second place, is anyone there that could actually threaten deep into the tournament, do you think, guys?
You think Sweden?
I think they're again alongside Ukraine. They seem like perennial dark horses in whatever tournament they're in. They're very, very functional unit. Wild card with Zlatan coming back into the framework. He's just signed an extension with AC Milan, so he definitely wants to keep playing. And they played well without him in the last World Cup, but with him in the side, it's this figure of, well, if shit starts to hit the fan, let's pass it to Ibra and let's see what he can make of it. They've got very good leadership figures. They've got Victor Lindelof as well in defense, very tried and tested experience, head on his shoulders, and they can surprise. They can surprise. They're much better as a unit than they are the sum of all parts, which I think is what you need to win tournaments. Like the units will win you games here and there, but it's the sum of all parts which will win you the tournament.
Damn. I'm ready to vote, Michael. I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So what are our options?
There's Spain, Poland, Sweden, and Slovakia. I may just give away my order.
Just Spain.
Yeah.
Let's vote Spain.
I think also with Sweden, Alexander Isak, who plays for Real Sociedad, very interesting young forward. And I think that if he's a big tournament this summer, he's been linked with a few big clubs. La Real's model is very much kind of built upon selling younger players. So I think if he had a big tournament for Sweden this summer, I think the bids could come in thick and fast for him.
Yeah, there's that sort of like that unset expectation that when Isak was coming up is that this is going to be the next Ibra. There's similar styles of ball control, similar swagger, physicality. So it would be interesting to see. It would definitely, because Ibra is definitely two different players before and after 30, and if they have everybody half as good as that coming into the national team and staying there, that's good as gold.
Isak was brilliant in the Eredivisie for Villante back in the day. Such a great striker, and it looks like we've got our top four. Yeah, we've got Spain, we've got Sweden second. And then surprised me. I thought we'd go for Poland more, but Poland are going to be no, Poland are going to be third. Okay. A couple of us went for Slovakia in third.
Damn.
But quite predictable, that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
You'd think.
Yeah, we'll see. But of course, football's never predictable. It's one of those groups. It could completely just turn on its head. Now the fourth group, we've got Belgium to discuss, along with Russia, Finland, Denmark. Ritwik, take it away. You've been watching Belgium rather closely. Your Netherlands is rivals. What have they got in store this time?
Rivals with asterisks. I think Belgium, by the end of the last World Cup, we were thinking, this is the team. They came in third place. They were playing fantastic, flowing football. That's come a bit to a halt, especially with Roberto Martinez shifting the tactics to a back three full time. In essence, Belgium have a few problems. Most notably in the big injury question mark known as Eden Hazard. But fortunately, in his absence, his brother Togan has begun playing a pretty vital role in Martinez's Belgium setup. You have him been playing right wing back, left wing back, behind the striker, in midfield. And when you have those Swiss Army knives, those are the type of people who really shine in the tournaments because they get the opportunity to be everywhere. Like Daley Blind had a couple of World Cups ago. Biggest concerns I would say for Belgium would be their centre back slot because despite playing for Vissel Kobe in Japan, Jan Vertonghen is still getting picked for the Belgium side, and that just shows you how starved they are for central defensive options. Dedrick Boyata is unlikely to come back till mid-May, so they're going to be sweating on his fitness. And obviously Kevin De Bruyne, big miss. If having creative vacuums in De Bruyne and in Hazard, it leaves you thinking, well, who's going to supply Lukaku? And this is where Roberto Martinez really comes to his fore as a manager, and where he's evolved as a manager is being able to use different players in different positions to achieve different results. He might have Carrasco starting off on the right wing back slot, but then he'll play him as one of the attacking midfielders behind the striker, play someone else because his skills are better used in an attacking sense there. But there are a lot of question marks which didn't exist before for Belgium, which exist now. Leadership figures maybe in the center, with Axel Witsel being pretty off the boil this entire season, Marwan Fellaini not getting picked at all. It's that leadership figure in the center that's going to be a bit iffy. I don't know if Deng Donker or Yuri Tielemans are really going to step up in that way that they actually need. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think Belgium will have a decent tournament, but it's going to be incumbent upon Martinez saying, you know what, I need to adjust this team every single game. I doubt Martinez is going to have one starting 11 that he's going to completely pick this game. It's going to be, he's going to adapt his tactics a little bit. Key man obviously will be Romelu Lukaku. I would say arguably one of the top 5 players in Europe this season. He's been absolutely fantastic. He's plays really well for Belgium, plays very well in the tournaments. He's very unselfish, lets other people shine. But I think Belgium's biggest concern is going to be creativity, especially if De Bruyne's doesn't get his fitness up to scratch, and if Hazard just basically doesn't show up. I mean, I know he's just come back for Real, but he's one game away from Comunicado Medical. And that's the thing. So Martinez is basically in his head said, you know what, I can't depend on Eden. Let me adjust my tactics instead of saying, oh, I'm going to change everything because Eden Hazard's not there, which works out when you have someone like Louis van Gaal 2 World Cups ago when Kevin Strootman wasn't there, changed the entire tactics to 3-5-2. But this is going to be an interesting team to watch. I think that golden generation is definitely on not the decline, but the can of golden spray is finishing. It's sputtering now. And like with Portugal, you said people like Pepe, people like Ronaldo, but Tonga and Alderweireld and Vermaelen, these aren't players who are playing very well right now. I know Toby Alderweireld is not having the best time at Spurs. I know Jan Vertonghen is not having a good time at Benfica, or at least he wasn't until I last saw. So it's the peppering out of the golden generation, and it's going to be interesting to see who really steps up.
I'll be looking to. I was just going to say I'll be looking to because Ritwik's left a very key man at the Belgian team there because he plays a lot and he's a name that's on the tip of all of our tongues. the man that usually starts under Martinez, really good player, is Nasser Chadli. At the age of 62, he is still getting minutes in the Belgian team. So that's just the one thing I wanted to throw in there. Sorry, Michael, continue.
Well, I mean, obviously they're not the big sparkling team that we all thought Belgium could be. That they seem to not, but they haven't won like this big tournament, which we thought they would. And I'm looking at that group and still thinking that Denmark could be an outside shout as well. Who also, you look at their talented players and you think, they could be a decent shout. They could get out of that group. They could do something. We'll see. Christian Eriksen's still there. I think that this group is, again, not the strongest one, but also I think Belgium should have no problems getting through. And for me, I think Denmark should get through second. I think that Finland and Russia I honestly don't think there's much interesting to say there. Like, are they genuinely going to be threats to get far in this tournament? Not for me.
Not really, no.
Perhaps let's vote with our feet and let us know who you think will finish where in this group.
All right, I will leave my prediction in.
I think from a Spanish perspective, like Hazard is he came on last night against Real Betis and played 15 minutes and was very good. But it's the first time that he's actually managed his own recovery himself, because before he was always being rushed into the team by Zidane or by Madrid. But this time he was actually fit to play 2 weeks ago. And they kind of said, just take your time. Whenever you feel 100%, you can play. And that's what he's done. And that's why he's come back with a different kind of energy last night. And then also, I would just say Thibaut Courtois is one of the best goalkeepers in the world this season. He's been absolutely flying for Real Madrid. He's been absolutely pivotal to their title challenge and their European run. And I think when you have a top-class goalkeeper like that between the six, you always have a chance. So I'd be confident that Belgium could do something this summer for sure.
Yeah, they're stacked with quality. Looks like they'll finish top as well, Alex.
Yeah, I'll put them in. No, I'm joking. I'll put them in right here. So it's going to be Belgium. And who have we got second, Michael? Is it Denmark?
Denmark, by looks of it. And third, cool. Third is going to be Russia.
Oh, just about.
Just.
Finland just getting knocked out. What a shame.
I think Finland versus Russia is one of those games that if you have to miss a Euro game, it'll be that one.
And then when you turn it on at 86 minutes, you see 4-3, a red card.
You've missed a banger. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the vodka derby, that one.
Go, Michael. What's next? What
could be another one of those groups like the Belgian one. Actually, it looks good to someone who lives in the UK, but I think outside of that, you might one that you might want to miss. But England, Croatia, Scotland, and Czech Republic. And I think Mike's yawning, so it must be that boring. He's Scottish as well. Mike doesn't support Scotland, I don't think. But yeah, we've got Croatia, obviously the World Cup finalists. But are they going to be the same proposition now? Probably not. Czech Republic, again, a sort of an average team that have made it this far. Could they surprise? It will be a mass surprise if they do. Scotland, who are just there for the laugh, and then England, who might genuinely be a contender. Are you getting defensive now, Mike? I thought you didn't support Scotland.
No, but we're not there for the laugh. We're gonna cause upset. This is gonna be Scotland's crowning moment, beating England in Wembley in the first. So
could you imagine?
I'll say England won't win that game. It'll either be a draw or be a Scottish win. England aren't going to win that game. This is the first time since like 94, since Scotland have since 96, since England 96 that Scotland have qualified for an international tournament. And
I remember me and Ritwik were doing a show on Germany and Scotland very early on in the Eurowatch podcast, and we had a guest on from German Football News, a guy called Tom Fenn, a really good guest, and we were asking deep questions about Germany. He came to Scotland, and Ritwik just like, you know, those sort of scrolls that never end. He just had information on Scotland and why they weren't going to be terrible, and that's convinced me with the prediction I'm going to say. I will say on England, I mean, I feel like I speak, Michael, I feel like I speak for us when I say that we are going to be very pessimistic of what they're going to do until the first group game. And as soon as they score a goal, we're going to say they're going to win the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm suddenly wearing an England shirt again.
Yeah, 100%. When I say we, I've very much criticised Southgate in the past. Especially the Trent Alexander-Arnold thing, starting Kieran Trippier at left back.
Well, not having Jack Grealish in the squad for so long was a pretty big mistake. I mean, obviously I'm a Villa fan, I'm biased, but Grealish should be in that squad a long time ago. And the fact that he also selects Mings over Konza, who was getting two very good English Villa centre backs, I'm starting to doubt about who he's actually choosing in this squad. I'm starting to doubt that he's making the right choices.
I mean, without getting too bogged down, I do think that's officially England will probably predict. I think Gareth Southgate's probably in the wrong job. I don't mean that badly. I think he should be sort of the director. I'm not sure if you guys have it for Netherlands, Spain, or Portugal, but I know Germany have it. Oliver Bierhoff, sort of the director of the England team, who picks what manager's going to come in and kind of guides it, rather than being the leading man behind it all to say, "Oh, we're going to pick Trippier at left wing back, and we're gonna leave out one of the best right backs in the world, Trent Alexander-Arnold." Just think it should be stepping away a little bit there. But I'm ready to.
Well, yeah, I say, whilst we're just typing who we think's going to finish first, second, third in that group, I got to say that England have got a lot of star quality still, and they've got a lot of young attacking midfielders coming through. Could stand them in good stead. They might actually be a good shout to win the tournament, but England are England, and they just never see through a competition which they're very heavily favoured to win. But a lot of us still choose England to finish first. Also, a couple of people choosing England, Scotland second. What's been in your bottle?
Oh my God! Here we go.
Well, as an Irishman, I think we're kind of quite similar to the Scots in many ways. And given that our national team is in a kind of, the depths of despair, I'd love to see Scotland go on a bit of a run in this tournament, So
okay, guys, wait.
I would absolutely love it too, Alan, honestly. John McGinnis plays for Scotland. Once again, being a Villa fan, he's probably their best players. It's fantastic to see him there.
Danny, before you vote, you are... Before Danny votes, he is a deciding vote to see where Scotland finish, because I think it's right now 3-2 Scotland coming third.
Everyone's Danny, for England to win.
I've got England, Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic.
So it's gonna be England, Croatia, Scotland, Czech Republic, I think, guys. Sorry, Michael. I actually do think Scotland will finish second, but
I want them to do really well. I just don't see it happening.
I can see.
I really want to do well.
Che Adams, 90th minute winner at Wembley. England regret not signing him up. So yeah, I can see it happening. But yeah, I think England will top that group. But I wouldn't write Scotland off even just for a shock value.
They've got an organised team, so I'm backing them.
Yeah. We've got one group left to preview, guys, and it's Turkey, Italy, Wales, and Switzerland. Ritwik's got his Italy shirt on, so we're handing over to Ritwik in a second. But gotta say, Turkey, having beaten the Netherlands 4-2 already, I think we had some egg put in our faces. We had a lot of comments on our live stream at the time from Turkish fans sort of really rubbing it in because they loved it. We thought it was their big grand day out beating the Netherlands, but actually maybe I'm a bit of humble pie and actually they look a good team and could make it far. I got them down to definitely go through this group. And I've got to say, I think Wales, yes, it hasn't got that oomph about it like it did before in the Euros when they did really well. And Switzerland, again, as one of those average teams, got a couple of good players, but not a lot about it. Now, Ritwik, Italy, genuine proposition?
I would say so. I think people are sleeping on Italy. It's hard from an outsider who possibly doesn't look at the Serie A very much to know how well they're doing. But under Roberto Mancini, this team has come in leaps and leaps and leaps and bounds. Their 4-3-3 attacking formation. They've got incredible young players in players like Barella, in Federico Chiesa. And obviously keeper like Gianluigi Donnarumma. And they've got experienced heads as well. Immobile, Insigne, Giorgio Chiellini is still there. It's a great team to have seen watching. These the Euro qualifiers come up. They've won a lot of games. They've played in a very attractive style of football. The kind that people and neutrals watching the Euros will really love. And it's just great to see an Italian unit come together. Obviously, what they are missing are the stereotypical hard men, your Materazzis, your Gattusos. But this is a different time, and different times call for different warriors. And you see people like Locatelli, Verratti, Berardi, Bonucci. These are still people who have the grit and the intensity that you need to defend against the trickiest of players. But you've also got people like Jorginho, Emerson, Florenzi. These are the depth options that they can count on. These are experienced hands that Mancini is going to look at and say, okay, you know what? If shit starts to hit the fan, I'm putting these people in. It's hard to see where a coalesced starting 11 will come from. I'd say about 4 or 5 people are pretty much dead set, but they've got very dangerous players. They've got very dangerous players. They've got very good tactics, a very tight team, and they've got a midfield, probably about 4 or 5 options who would walk into most teams. Like we, Alex and I were on a podcast and we had a guest, I believe it was
Jake Smalley.
And he was talking about how any of the Italian midfielders would walk into the English team. And I couldn't really argue with him. Because seeing Serie A and seeing how these people perform, it's going to be very interesting. The lethality up front is a bit of a doubt. Immobile is not the most prolific goal scorer. He does well against the minnows, but in the tournaments, a bit of flip of the coin. You have Moise Kean as well, a bit more of a combative forward. But I have high hopes for Italy. I have very high hopes, and not just because I'm wearing the jersey. I think the Italian national team are. We've talked about bridging the balance. I think Italy are at that bridge, and they're getting off it to the other side. They're not coming up on it. And it's gonna be very interesting to see how they navigate each opposition. I feel like they can go really deep into the storm. And
nice one.
I think Turkey will definitely provide a very, very challenging opposition. Obviously, Alex knows their forwards very well. He's a big fan of Lille, and they've got experience in space. They've got pace in space, and maybe we see a World Cup 2002-esque Turkey come into this team. And I'd love to see it. I think Turkey, a very intense country. They have an intense football following. And, it would do a world of good for the world of football to see someone like Turkey really punch above their weight. But I think Italy just about edged it out in this group.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's hear your predictions then, guys, because I think Italy, again, are going to be one of those teams that are amongst the favourites.
Oh, everyone was ready to press enter there.
Not me, evidently.
Me neither.
Okay. Go on, Michael. Read it out to me once it's ready.
We've got 5 of them in so far, but it's pretty safe to say Italy are going to be top.
Okay. Italy are top.
Turkey second.
Oh.
Switzerland third. Wales are out.
There we go.
We know what meat Michael puts on his Subway sandwich.
Well, I just think that as you said, Turkey could be the outsiders for this group, and I can see Wales finishing bottom. But I think everyone in this group can beat anyone. If everyone has an off day, everyone has an on day. I think it could be one of these groups where one team edges through because the rest of them are all on similar points. And I just think that it could be Turkey. That I think that they drew at home with Latvia because Latvia sat back, but as teams go at them, then they'll pick them off like they did to Netherlands, and I think they could top this group.
Yeah, to just bounce back on what Michael was saying. Is that me? Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It's almost unanimous how we have it 1 through 4. But to what Michael was saying, I do think that there is a closeness in terms of quality from top to bottom in this group that, we have it, Italy, Turkey, Swiss for the most part. And now that does sound like a sandwich. I'm kind of hungry now. But I think that, Turkey can very well win this group. I think the Swiss can, take points from these top 2 teams. Wales, say what you want. They had a deep run in 2016. Could lightning strike twice, at least in group play and where they get out? It should go as chalk in terms of how the top 4 is, but I do think it's closer than just the way we have it laid out.
There will be surprises. There will be things that we totally got wrong.
Yeah, I think as well. I think Italy could be a dark horse for the competition, actually, because I just feel like they aren't as fancied as France, for example. But I think Roberto Mancini's personality is very well suited to tournament football. I think he's very kind of conspiratorial and he's very kind of odd and idiosyncratic. And I think that if he can kind of get a right blends of, his kind of famously difficult style as a person, you could say, with a kind of, sweeping movements that kind of ties the team to the country of Italy, I think they could do serious damage, So I'm interested to see how they get on, to be honest, in the deeper stages of the competition, for sure.
Brilliant. Now, we're getting to the last 16, and we've got to choose which teams are going to finish third and also go through. So, Alex, if you could bring up the third place teams we've selected. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put you guys on the spot. I'm going to get you to choose a third place team you think will go through. And then we'll have our last 16. So if I just bring this back up. Mike, who do you think will finish as the best third place team?
Possibly Poland for me. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be decided on, I don't know if it's goal difference on it. Where somebody like Germany might not, as I said, might get a lot of draws. So I think the four that I think are going to go through would start with Poland for me.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think will be the second best third place team, Danny, if you had to choose from the rest? So Poland the first.
As we've discussed, Germany's in a really weird spot. I hate to hit the obvious here, but they still have a tremendous amount of talent. And out of these 6 teams, given they're not playing against these 6 teams, but I still think Germany does find a way to get into the knockouts, and as one of the top 4 third place teams. So I'll go ahead and say Germany.
Wow. Alan, who do you think will be the third one?
Scotland, I think. I feel very confident that Scotland are going to go on a bit of a run, go a bit of a jolly.
And Ritwik, choose your last one to go through.
Russia.
Ooh. Okay. Oh. Wow.
sorry to the Macedonian follower there.
Yeah, I think they've just switched off. Well, I've got some comments coming. Thank you for the live comments, guys. And if you're not watching live, please do leave a comment down below as to who you think is going to win the competition, even from these 16 that we've got here. And do, of course, hit the like button as well if you're enjoying this Echelon podcast today. Now, we've got the last 16 up. Let's go in order. Italy against Ukraine. Would anyone like to offer an opinion on that? Otherwise, we can type in who we think will win out of those two. Should we say also doing that? Will someone open up?
I'll open up. So I think Ukraine have got a really strong side, but Ukraine are set up well. Italy is set up well for this tournament, and I'm kind of with Ritwik. I think they're underrated for this tournament. I actually think they can go really far. So I'd back Italy just over Ukraine personally.
Right then, guys, if you could send in the team that you think will go through. I'm so torn on this one. I think this could be close, but everyone's going Italy, so
Italy. Next one,
Turkey against Denmark, which could two of the outsiders.
I will vote very quickly. I think I know mine.
Yeah, it's got to be Turkey for that one.
Yeah.
Let's go Turkey.
Turkey. Belgium v Poland.
Belgium all day for me.
Belgium, yeah.
Belgium, definitely.
Oh!
This is just because I want to...
What was that, Ritwik?
Oh, wait, no. I was going against the grain and voting for Poland because I think that's going to be one surprise round of 16 result. And I think it might just be Poland.
That's fair. Look at this.
Can I just say for this one here, the Netherlands against Germany, that this is the most typical thing to happen, because if the Dutch win the group, they play one of the worst third place teams going through, and inevitably it would be Germany. But this is a Germany that's like a wounded animal at the minute. they're not great. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think if this was the matchup, I'd still fancy Netherlands to go through. I think if Germany just scrape through, I think the pressure will be on low as well. And I think that, Holland, if they win the group, the confidence would be there. Players like Frenkie de Jong would be confident. Hopefully, Virgil's there. And then, I'd see Netherlands going through if that was the matchup.
And we've all unanimously picked them as well, I think.
There we go.
Wow.
Next up.
Croatia, Sweden. Ooh.
Oh, that's going to be a tasty time.
Well, a nice chance to get through to the quarterfinals for one of these teams.
Before everyone votes, I will say Croatia, I think they actually have a pretty good record when it comes to knockout tournaments. I haven't got it locked on my brain, but aside from the World Cup last time, I believe they've got to third place a couple times before over the course of the Euros and the World Cup, and they've only started playing in it since like the early 1990s. So there's only one time they failed to qualify, and every other time I'm pretty certain they've got out of the group stage. So that's something to consider here, I think, with Croatia.
Well, whilst you've been saying that,
Luka Modric.
Sweden.
Luka Modric has played a lot of football this season too, though. He's been playing like as many minutes as anybody at Madrid, and they still have a few games left too. So I'd imagine he'd be tired come the end of the season, even though he's still in fantastic shape for 35 years old, you know. But I don't know.
Playing really well.
I think it's a three-way split. So Michael, you should call it.
Oh, I can't do it.
Croatia.
Mike, call it.
Sweden. Let's go.
Sweden. All right. France beat Russia. Does anyone think Russia are good?
No. France.
Unless Dennis Cheryshev has a madness, France.
Unless they don't catch the sports doping, it's going to be France. Spain beat Scotland.
I'm going to say Scotland.
No, I think they're going a run, but I don't think they're going that good of a run, to be honest with
No.
you. I think that would be a Spanish victory every day of the week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Spain to win that one easily.
Ah, Spain.
Scotland's going to win, but Robertson's going to get sent off.
England beat Portugal.
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 This is tough.
Portugal.
Yeah, here we are. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I think it's Portugal.
Come on, my friends.
Portugal.
I think it's
4v2.
Was this that famous Euro 2004, or was it the World Cup 2006 where Portugal faced England, and then you had the whole
Both, was it not?
It was both. But which
Yeah.
the Rooney one, I believe, was 06, where Ronaldo asked for the red card and then did the
wink?
the most powerful wink in all of world football.
Are we going to rattle through the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and final now, Michael? Or are you saving it for a next one?
To be fair, France had the group of death, and they can basically fight their way through to the semi-final. Russia and Sweden aren't exactly easy. Exactly hard opposition. So I'd say that this one's pretty easy to call. I think you have to put France in the semis.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But this could be more interesting. Belgium and Italy.
Italy.
Belgium don't have it. No, it's Italy.
Italy,
Yeah,
I think, as well.
Italy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Italy.
Oh, Holland beat Turkey.
Revenge.
This could be. I guarantee this will happen, Mike, won't it?
If the
Yeah.
Dutch make it
Be
this far,
revenge.
they've made it this far on luck, or they've made it this far on merit.
I think we vote because this one's quite close.
I think next time we play Turkey, we won't have Daily Blind in the centre defence, so I think that will help. So it'll be De Vrij up against them, so I think it'll be in better shape.
Yeah, this tie here it'll be so big when if they get up to this kind of thing. I just have a feeling this kind of thing would happen. Netherlands against Turkey again, because it was such an embarrassing match. But I have to say that if this does happen again, I think the Netherlands will win it this time, and it will be very close.
Yeah,
It's going to be the Netherlands. I think Turkey will surprise you. I think Turkey will surprise you again.
They've already done it. We already know how good they are.
They're going to surprise you double over. All right. Last one is Spain beat Portugal. Oh, should we just let
Alan
Alan
v. Danny, bring it on.
At this point, I'll go with Portugal, obviously, but I just think this group of players with Portugal is a little bit more tournament tested than the group with Spain. Spain has a lot more of the younger players that are up and coming. Is this their time to shine? They could. I mean, if Spain were to beat Portugal here, there's no surprise at all on my end. But I'll still go with the defending champs up through the semis.
Similarly, I think it's a knife edge. Really, I think either team could win that game. That will depends on how they're playing. Whether if Spain have Sergio Ramos fit and firing, Ansu Fati back in the team. But I'll go with Spain just because of allegiances. But I think it could be either. It's a really hard one to call, to be honest with you.
Wow, this is hard.
We've got 2 votes in.
I
think Portugal.
Oh, I haven't put mine in yet. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've now officially voted for Portugal.
Oh, it's Portugal.
Sorry, animus there, Alan. I'm very sorry.
Oh man, it's really not coming home, is it, Alex?
England being left in round 16. All right, the semis. France v Italy.
France.
Oh,
France, I'd say.
You've got to go boring and back France. Boring.
I'm going Italy.
I'm going Italy as well.
I'm voting. We'll see what happens.
I think the know-how's going to get them this time in the semi-final. Oh no, France have definitely won that vote. 4v2.
France in extra time, I think.
Ritwik, before we go on, me and Ritwik we did a tournament prediction in like November, and so far it has been pretty much spot on with what we've called. It depends on this final one. Holland v Portugal.
Portugal.
Now, obviously, being Dutch football podcast, it'd be good to have this kind of thing turn up. This kind of run to the semi-finals, and in my personal opinion, I think that playing Portugal kind of suits the Netherlands, but I think Spain wouldn't have done. I think that would be a much trickier tie than Portugal. And if they've just got Ronaldo to deal with, I think that's a bit easier to deal with than lots of technical players running through in Spain. I think that the Netherlands should be favourites there. Only just though.
Damn.
Well, I'm just going to respectfully disagree, Michael.
Of course.
No, honestly, I do think that the Dutch are in a much better spot than they were, or in terms of talent wise, heading into this tournament and in this matchup than they were when we faced one another in the Nations League final. And again, say what you want about the Nations League, it's a tournament, it's a third tier tournament, but you could tell that the pieces were there for the Dutch, and there were some pieces that were kind of finding their way into the Portugal side. But honestly, if these are the two semifinals, no, what a fantastic semifinal it's going to be for sure.
We've had right now it's 2-2. I think Alan and Danny voted Portugal. Michael and Ritwik have voted the Netherlands. Michael's voted Netherlands. I think as the last person, I get a call. Now I was going to vote Portugal, but I did hear I held my vote there, and I let Michael give a pretty good take on how the Netherlands are actually pretty suited to playing Portugal, and it is a Football-Oranje podcast. So for that reason, I'm going to say Portugal will win.
Danny was getting ready to be like, I prefer not to speak.
Well, I also understand where the tiebreaker comes from, so we'll see how this goes.
Are we 3-3 at this point?
I think we are.
So then, as Mike is the Football-Oranje founder and it's a Football-Oranje podcast, I think Mike should get to choose the winner of this one.
I didn't put my vote in, did I?
You did.
You did. No.
Oh yeah, he says France. So no, you haven't. Portugal win then. People watching this can't see that he just voted Portugal. But
California in the house, I love it.
4 votes.
It's going to be a header from Pepe, and he's not going to even know he headed it. That's how they're going to go through.
Ritwik, our predictions come completely true. We predicted a France and Portugal final.
Having come from the group of death.
Yeah. Go on, shall we lay the votes out? Who do we think will win?
It's going to be tough.
I'm just going to say there's one team that's more exciting here, which is Portugal. There's another team that's more boring here, and that's France. And you've got to back the boring side, because the boring always wins. If you ever betted on football, you think, maybe Aston Villa will surprise or something, and then no, it's thumped. Sorry, Michael. It's like you've got to back the boring team, so I'm backing France.
It's also revenge for 2016 as well.
I will say this. I'm voting obviously with my heart, not with my head here, but but could I see Portugal beating France in the final? Absolutely. But yeah, France is stacked from top to bottom. It is. I wouldn't say it's boring. It's just so overwhelming, the talent that they have, that it's a bit boring just because it's probably just the outcome is probably so likely. However, yeah, we'll call up Eder again. We'll sit someone down.
I think there has been an unanimous vote in there.
Yeah, in our private chat, looks like we've gone for France.
France are going to win the Euros. There it is.
Well, after all of that, the tournament favourites won it.
I told you, the most boring side. There we are.
I don't like seeing Portugal lose. I don't like seeing that graphic at all. Can we stop sharing the screen, please?
I can't. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh.
It was gone before I knew it.
Well, from the Netherlands perspective, we're a Dutch football podcast, and I think that, Mike, a run to the semi-finals would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, right now I'd take that. If De Boer gets into the semi-finals, the only thing that would be annoying about that is that De Boer would then get, his new contract that gets to the World Cup. So that'd be bad. But yeah, semi-finals with this coach would be a thrilling ride.
He'd definitely raise his stock again, wouldn't he?
I think the most realistic part of all our predictions is England getting knocked out in the round of 16.
I agree.
From an outsider's point of view to both Michaels here, what has changed, I should say, from the approach with Ronald Koeman to Frank de Boer? Because Frank, for whatever reason, in his multiple stops prior to that, it's just been so bad. It's with what was it, Crystal Palace, and then with going to the MLS in Atlanta, it just something happens and the team just takes a dive initially. What is it that you guys are seeing from the Dutch point of view that is making it, I guess, least likely of a run for Holland in this tournament because of Frank de Boer?
Definitely squad unity.
Yeah, confidence, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, they pull themselves together because they have so many leaders in the squad. And that's more important at the end of the day. Although obviously with De Boer, you want a bit of tactical input, and he has very little of that. But the players as a whole, they definitely give their all.
Yeah, the confidence is in there. When Netherlands go behind, you think they're going to lose. Whereas if they went behind with Koeman, you'd change something up and they'd come back and get a draw like they did against Germany in the last minute with Van Dijk's header. You just don't see that with this side. He just throws on players for no reason and then hopes for the best. You just don't have that tactical nous that Koeman has.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for doing this as well, like listening in, people at home, but also the guests we've had today. I think Alan just dropped out at the end there, but Alan was from La Liga Lowdown, giving the Spanish football in the English language, and Danny as well from Selecao Pod. He gives his all for Portuguese football fans in the English language, and Alex and Ritwik as well from the Eurowatch podcast. Go and find everybody on Twitter and go and see what they're all doing as well. Of course, if you enjoyed this, do hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to Football-Oranje. We've got much more coming up from an English language point of view, with the Netherlands heading up to Euro 2020. And if you haven't got one already, get yourself a Football-Oranje wristband to treat yourself for the tournament too. It might arrive in time, and you can join Alex and I with our wristbands. Well, thanks everyone for doing that. That was good fun, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, what? We're going into the drawer there?
Hey. Look at that.
The blue jersey is way better. The blue jersey is just way better.
This looks nice, doesn't it?
I had a bunch of jerseys. Now, I've probably like 6 of the teams participating have their jerseys, but not Portugal for some strange reason.
I have enough if you want to borrow one.
I was just about to say.
Oh, that was great.
Great podcast there, guys. We'll have to end the live podcast now. So again, do hit the like button and comment down below who you think will win the Euros. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks.